My name is no, my name is John Hale III, CEO of the Cornerstone Group. We're a business advisory firm based here in Maryland, helping companies grow and scale their business operations through what we call CPR, Capital Partnerships and Revenue. And I'm a board member of the Maryland Black Chamber of Commerce as well. And so we are excited that you are joining us for our fourth in our series of six webinars and seminars regarding how to be able to grow and scale your business. So we're showing here a flyer. The ground we've covered to date has been upgrade your playbook, strategy planning, and execution. Build infrastructure for growth, finances, and accounting. Be seen and heard, visibility and marketing. And today we have an exciting session called Show Me the Money, Cash Flow and Capital Access. Obviously, cash flow and capital access are the one of the lifebloods of any business. So we are excited to begin that session here today. The purpose of our sessions are to provide practical information that you can use right away. You can start later today when we're done, or you can start tomorrow to actually help you grow and to scale your business. And so we're bringing in business professionals from our local communities that live, eat, and breathe the subject matter for which we're talking about. And so today, we are excited to have Tiana Wells Lawson with us. I'll give you a brief introduction for her background. Tiana Wells Lawson has worked in the financial industry for 22 years. She is currently a senior commercial relationship manager for Fulton Bank, where she specializes in providing access to capital for small and medium businesses. Previously, she was a senior vice president and business and economic development lead for Harbor Bank of Maryland. Tiana established the private banking division and secured more than $150 million in new deposits. Prior to joining Harbor Bank of Maryland, Tiana played a key role in developing the private banking programs at SunTrust and PNC Banks. As the first vice president of private banking relationship manager in the greater Washington area for 2012 for SunTrust Bank, she was able to become able to become the number one second mortgage loan producer in the company. Tiana was a member of the private client group startup team in Baltimore County in 2008. She established the Baltimore County private banking territory, including Jacksonville, Phoenix, Sparks, and Hunt Valley, Maryland. In 2006, Tiana managed a $400 million portfolio as a premier relationship manager at the Bank of America. She began her banking career at MBNA America in 1999, where she managed the credit collections, billing disputes, risk, and fraud departments. Tiana serves as a member of the Executive Advisory Council for the Maryland Bankers Association. She is a member of the Towson University Alumni Association Board, and most importantly, she's an advisory board member for us at the Maryland Black Chamber of Commerce. Tiana received her Bachelor of Science degree in Mass Communications from Towson University, and she lives in Laurel, Maryland, and enjoys cooking, traveling, and spending time with her husband and two kids. And by the way, follow her on IG as it relates to cooking. She makes a lot of the recipes and cooking look fun, and is even trying to get me, who I like to eat more than I like to cook, to actually try some of the recipes. So I encourage you to follow her on IG. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Ken White, the Executive Director for the Maryland Black Chamber of Commerce. Ken, you can take it away.
Good afternoon. I won't take up too much of your time, but thank you, John. I know Don's not with us today, but thank you, Don, for putting together this great series for the Chamber. Right now, we are engaged in a whole track of government contracting programming. We have the 6-part series that you are participating in today, doing business with the federal government. We are in the middle of our doing business with the state series. We have completed our doing business with Montgomery County series, and we're about to wrap up our doing business with Prince George's County. This track has been very successful, so thank you all for participating and making it a win-win opportunity. Again, we're doing a lot with the Chamber. We're growing by leaps and bounds. As many of you know, I transitioned into the full-time position of Executive Director at the beginning of the year. Our membership is growing, our database is growing. We now have a membership of 400 members and a database. Melissa, I just checked today, it's now grown up to 4,200. And we are represented, our membership is represented as far north as Harford County, as far west as Hagerstown, as far south as St. Mary's County. We have an office headquartered in Rockville. We have a satellite office at the Hagerstown Community College up in Hagerstown, and soon to open up an office in the Prince George's area. We're just waiting for some use and occupancy permits to be finalized. Again, we have more programming coming up. Stay tuned. If you're not, I'm going to make the assumption that if you're on this webinar, then you are getting our information. So please be on the lookout for upcoming events. One of our major events that's coming up in June. Melissa, can you share our Juneteenth flyer? We are really, really, really excited about this. We're doing our Juneteenth celebration on June 15th at the Brookside Gardens in Wheaton, Maryland. We are going to have beer and wine tasting provided by Black Brew Movement, and we are going to be tasting wine and beer from Black-owned brewery and wineries here in Maryland. We're going to have spoken word. We're going to have historical presentations from the Banneker Douglas Museum, from the Maryland Commission on African American Culture and History. We're going to have live jazz. We're going to have an art exhibit, and we are going to have a solo presentation. So Melissa, you could share. We are very excited about this event. It's going to be a real happening event on June 15th. So the flyers just went out today. So you probably should have received something about 10 o'clock today in reference to that event. And the summer is going to be fun-filled with a whole lot of stuff. So be on the lookout for our new activities. Melissa, can you share our social media platform? Please, you will be receiving, and please don't get tired of us. We have so much going on that you're getting a lot of flyers with a lot of events. And believe it or not, we're not posting everything. So please do follow us on our social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, because believe it or not, the things we don't put in our flyers that go out to you, we are posting on a regular on our social media platform. So please follow us and stay tuned for good things that are going to be happening with the Chamber. Save the date. We are planning our annual awards dinner and meeting for November 14th. And I'll just say there's lots more coming throughout the year. Well, I would be remiss if I did not say, look out for we have a Money Matters series that's sponsored by the SBA. That is the first Wednesday of every month. We have our financial industries affinity group, who is sponsoring webinars the third Wednesdays of the month. And we have a business planning series coming up. We have a business modeling series coming up, and we have a value proposition series coming up. And there's a lot more coming up, but I won't belabor this any longer. Just we appreciate you, and please continue to log into our events and to show up. Thanks a lot. If I missed anything, Melissa or John?
Did you want to thank our sponsors today?
Oh, yes. How could I do that?
Yes.
I absolutely positively want to do that. So you will see in all the webinars and seminars that we're doing, we have been doing those at no cost. That is because we have two really wonderful sponsors.
Yep.
We have Montgomery County as a major sponsor for us for this year. And we have FSC First, who has been a super duper sponsor for us this year. And John Hale is also the board chairman for FSC First. Yep. So thank you guys and your support and all that you do for us.
Thank you very much, Ken. Appreciate it. Before we get started here, just a little bit thing about the protocol. I'm going to, Tiana is on. I have a series of questions and answers. We're going to go back and forth. And that's how we're going to start the webinar. If you have any questions during the conversation, please place them in the chat. We'll try to get to them in the flow of the conversation. If not, Tiana and I will go back and forth. We have about 10 questions. Afterwards, we will definitely ask all the questions if we don't get to it during our conversation. And then when we get to the Q&A, please raise your hand, and we'll do our best to try to, we'll definitely call on everyone to make sure that we get all the questions answered. And that way, we can cover all the ground that we have. And so we can do that. And again, if you're not speaking, please mute your phone as well. Well, hey, Tiana, it is great to have you today. Thank you for spending a few minutes with us this afternoon on a beautiful day.
It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Definitely. So we'll just jump right in. Government contractors, as you're familiar with all businesses, we really need to focus on show me the money, cash flow, and access to capital. You can have a great idea, a vision, and you could be the best at whatever you do, but if you don't have any money or any capital, that is going to create some problems for you. So we're just going to start from the beginning to set the common playing field, so to speak. So we're all singing from the same sheet of music with the first couple of questions. So as we do that, what are the 5 C's banks and lenders use to analyze loans and loan applications? We hear about the 5 C's of credit. If you could just mention us briefly what they are and kind of how you guys look at each one.
Yes, so the 5 C's of credit, many banks utilize the 5 C's to determine if the client is credit worthy. So the first C is character, and that just simply monitors your credit history. If you have a strong credit history, we feel as though you have excellent character. The second C is conditions, and under conditions would fall interest rate and the amount of principal of the loan that you want to borrow. Third C would be capacity, and that involves your debt to income ratio. That determines whether or not you have the capacity to actually repay the loan.
Okay.
The fourth C is capital, and that's just the money. Do you have any money to put down for the loan? Because we typically require 20%. And collateral, what property are you putting down? Collateral would be the 5th C.
Okay. Fantastic. So if I understand this at a very high level, I know we're going to get into some of these a little bit more in detail a little bit later, but at a high level, we could say you're concerned about our credit history, may get a sense of how do you pay people back, creditors back that you have a relationship with. Capital may be, we've heard the term, what's skin in the game. So if you're coming to the bank for money for your company, what are you investing? Because if you want the bank to invest, the bank's going to ask, what are you investing in your company? And then from a collateral standpoint, it would be as another way to repay the bank. I guess you're going to look at the capacity first, meaning the cash flow or money from the company to pay you back, but also have a secondary resource of paying the bank back, which is what collateral that you bring to the table.
Absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. All righty. Then as we're talking about the 5 C's of credits, to unpack that a little bit more, what are the 3 to 5 key metrics or financial ratios that banks and lenders use to analyze and review loan applications and loan proposals? And why are these ratios or metrics important?
Okay, so we're going to take a look at the debt service coverage ratio. I'm sure that many of you who have gone out to apply for a loan, you hear about the debt service coverage ratio. We like the debt service coverage ratio to be right at 1.25%, because that's going to determine if you really have the ability to pay the loan back. So we want to see that you have enough money to pay your current debt and then a little bit more. So that's why that debt service coverage ratio is a 1.25%.
Okay, thank you.
The next is debt to income ratio. We want to just make sure that there's not too much exposure or debt out there that would prohibit the lender or the business owner from being able to pay back the loan. So we want that debt to income ratio to be right at 40%.
Okay.
And then we have something called debt to tangible net worth. So basically, debt to tangible net worth is your total debt divided by tangible net worth. And again, your tangible net worth, these are actual tangible products that your company has and can provide, not soft things. So actual tangible products resources that your company provides. So we want to take a look at that as well.
Okay, thank you, Tiana, for that. And we've talked about the accounting and finances in one of the earlier sessions that we had. So as a business owner, you need to make sure it's a good idea to have your accountant or your CPA to work with you on these as well.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. As you become more professional with your business,
Mhm.
and your income increases, you want to make sure that you have a CPA or a tax professional advising you and assisting you, just to make that presentation professional when you go to the bank to ask for a loan.
Right. And then, so would it be a good idea for as you're putting together your package, even thinking about seeking debt or a loan, or if you already have one, to get a second one, could you work with your CPAs to have them actually calculate these ratios for you, just to see where you are? I mean, before you ask, I think you'd mentioned the debt service coverage ratio of 1.25 times and debt to
Yep.
income 40%. So maybe even before you go to apply, maybe you know where you stand in those ratios.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That would be very beneficial.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Fantastic. And you'd mentioned debt to tangible net worth.
Mhm.
When you're talking about tangible assets, could I understand that as physical assets, like
Yes.
equipment? If I own my own building, where if I'm not leasing, but if I own my office building that my business is housed in, is
Yes.
that a physical asset that I can actually touch and
Yes,
move?
a physical asset or any type of equipment like a tractor, trailer,
Okay.
any type of physical, tangible uh, equipment that you can touch.
Right. And so could you give us an example of an intangible asset that wouldn't be included?
Yeah, so that would be something like, when you're doing your taxes or your financial statements,
Mhm.
it could be, for example, um, let's say goodwill.
Right.
So yeah, goodwill. If you're backing out some form of goodwill for
Okay.
something that you've done,
Okay.
that would not count as a tangible asset.
And so if I have a trademark or a patent
Right, that would not count as
okay,
a tangible net worth. Mhm.
gotcha. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. No, it's real important for us to understand those guardrails, so to speak, as we're financially building our company. It sounds like even annually, as we're getting our CPA to do our own statements, we should keep these ratios in mind.
Yep, absolutely.
Gotcha, gotcha. Fantastic. Um, what is the standard information companies are required to provide for a loan request, and what steps should companies take to ensure that they're providing a quality loan package? Because you mentioned the phrase quality financials earlier.
Mhm. So we want to make sure that you have your last 3 years personal and business tax returns with
Okay.
all schedules.
Okay.
And then a personal financial statement is very important as well. And you want to make sure that you fill it out as completely as possible.
Mhm.
Let it be professionally prepared, or you know, it doesn't look well to receive a personal financial statement and everything is just handwritten in. You could barely read the numbers. So just
Okay.
take time just to present a professional package with your personal financial statement as well.
Okay.
Then a debt schedule. A debt schedule is something that either you keep on your own or the bank will provide you, and it just simply outlines and highlights all of the debts that the business has.
Okay.
And then the biography is very important. A lot of times, we can Google you, but sometimes Google may not have a strong biography. So in your biography, you want to highlight as a business owner who you are, what you've done, what your company has done,
Okay.
and just really, brag about yourself a little bit. So the
Okay.
biography is really, really good because that'll help. If you're right on the line with getting approved or declined, if you have a strong biography, that
Okay.
could be something that could just push you over.
Okay.
A business plan for newer businesses. Now, for well-established businesses that are doing well, we really don't require a business plan. But for
Okay.
newer businesses, a business plan is always key so that you don't want to leave it up to the commercial loan officer to guess at what you're doing with your business. The
Okay.
business plan does a great job of outlining everything that your business is doing, what goals that you set for your business. So it's always great to have a business plan.
Okay.
And then just the standard articles of organization, the beneficial ownership form. The beneficial ownership form, that is basically a form that just breaks down the ownership of
Okay.
the business. So if you're not the main owner, it'll break down the ownership percentage that each person has within the company.
Okay.
And then your IRS letter with your EIN number on it.
Yeah.
And then just ensure that all requested documents are submitted in a timely manner. Don't request a loan if your documents are not ready and you're
Okay.
not prepared to submit that package. Because as time goes on, as a lender, we have deadlines in order to submit information and time frame. So if we don't receive your information within a timely manner of your request, we could send you a letter stating that, it's past the time frame. We're going to be
Okay.
declining the loan.
Gotcha.
And then again, ensure that all documents are signed and legible.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for that exhaustive list. This is good information that we need to have together, professionally done, ready to go before we call you up or just engage in a conversation about, hey, we like to loan from Fulton Bank. Is this information available on your website, or would a prospective company just have a conversation with you and ask what's required? What's the best way to proceed to know what you want or what another bank wants information?
A conversation, and then typically your commercial relationship manager will send an email outlining all of these things. We don't have it listed on the website because it's different from business to business.
Okay.
Some businesses require even more information.
Okay.
So we just want to make sure, but really the basics is going to be what I outlined, the last 3 years, personal and business financials to include all schedules with the
Okay.
personal financial statement. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Tiana. So in the first 3 questions, we've kind of laid the groundwork, so to speak. Now we're going to go a little bit deeper into some certain areas here. So first, we talked about kind of the title of today's session is dealing with cash flow. That's a term we hear a lot. We go to any business seminar or conversations, from accountants to lawyers to entrepreneurs, business owners, et cetera. The term cash flow is thrown around a lot, excuse me. But we want to know specifically, generally, how does a bank or lender define a company's cash flow, and what is the appropriate use of that cash flow from the bank's perspective?
Okay, so the term cash flow refers to the net amount of cash and cash equivalents being transferred in and out of the company. So it's the money that goes in and goes out of the company. We just call that cash flow.
Okay.
And so, many financial institutions, I know here at Fulton, we recommend that government contractors hire a professional to provide assistance with cash flow analysis because the factors that affect the cash flow for government contractors especially can be extremely dynamic.
Wow.
So you want to utilize that cash flow to reinvest back into the company to get you some professional services that'll make the company successful.
Well, thank you, Tiana. So you mentioned several different things, factors there. One, you mentioned the money coming in and coming out. So when we talk about net cash flow, I guess I can maybe understand the net cash flow. I mean, the money coming in is the revenue from my customers. What is the money going out? What is that you guys are seeing there?
That could be multiple things. So money going out, that's expenses
Okay.
that you have. So that's like the bills, if you're paying contractors, to do work for you.
All right.
So it's basically, yeah, the money that you have coming in after you've paid all of your expenses, and then the money that's going to leave, paying additional expenses or contractors.
Okay. So if I think about, we're in the month of May here, so the money coming in for May is my revenue that's coming in, and the money's
Yes.
going out could be my payroll, my contractors,
Mhm,
utility bills,
Yep.
rent, um, travel,
Mm-hmm.
T&E, type, travel, entertainment expenses, conferences, subscriptions. So that's all the cost to run my business.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you very much. And you'd mentioned another critical point here, which was getting professional help, especially for government contractors. How do you see that makes a difference from maybe some GovCons you've seen who've submitted information, you've had conversations with, who didn't have professional help from a CPA, I'm presuming, and those that did? How does that make a difference for you as a banker when you have a conversation with them, or you mentioned the term, the professional aspect of their package? How do you see that difference when you have two different packages in front of you there?
Well, sometimes cash flow is very important to government contracting organizations. And, because a lot of times, although the federal government is a guaranteed source of repayment or income, a lot of times some newer government contractors may not be aware of how to ensure that they get paid from the government in a timely
Okay.
manner. So a CPA or professional can provide them with assistance to make sure that they have filled out all the proper forms that are required, and that all of the appropriate identification numbers are on the payment request forms. So just those sorts of things, because if you accidentally just leave off your 10 off of your your payment request form, that could significantly delay the government contractor getting paid. So, we just want to make sure that the government contractors also have all their resources and all of the I's and T's dotted and crossed to make sure that they're able to receive their payments in a timely manner so that they can operate their business as effectively as possible.
Understood. So then if they're not receiving the payment in a timely manner, then their ability to execute their work and pay you guys back, they're getting stretched. That can
Right.
be a risk of cash flow. So part of it is the risk of the contractor, it sounds like, being able to bill the government properly or the prime properly. And then the risk of them getting paid on time. Yeah, when I was the OSBU director of the energy department, I would see, unfortunately, some primes would stretch small businesses and not pay them on time, or stretch them to 45, 60 plus days, et cetera. And we had a sequestration and a government shutdown. So knock on wood, the folks down the street from us get it together by June 1st or whatever. So we don't have that risk here. But again, that's kind of the risk we're talking about. Well, thank you for that explanation.
Okay.
We talked about credit scores. You mentioned one of the C's of credit was character. How does an individual's credit score impact their company's loan request? Meaning it's an individual credit score, it's my personal credit score, but my company wants a loan. And then what's the dynamic of that between a newer business and a more mature business?
Okay, credit score largely impacts the pricing that a company will receive. If you have the lower your credit score, the higher your interest rate is going to be. Credit impacts the risk rating of the loan, which will also impact the rates, fees, and loan amount, and then also the amount of financials that you need to provide. So say, for example, if someone applies for a loan and their personal credit score is 550 versus someone who applies for a loan and their personal credit score is 750. So that is going to significantly impact the interest rate
Okay.
and the amount of times that we need to review the loan and the information that we gather. So someone with a strong credit score, strong credit history of paying their bills on time, they will only need to provide us, the bank, with annual financials. And this is if your
Okay.
loan is $1 million or more, we typically ask for annual financials. But
Okay.
someone who has a subprime, a not strong credit score, they will probably need to provide us with quarterly financial statements on a quarterly basis,
Okay.
just to monitor how the company is doing. And then that will be assigned a risk score just to keep an eye on the loan. So that could really make the pricing that you're paying for this, the same type of loan that someone else is getting, you're paying a much higher rate because your credit score is low. And then
Understood.
credit can ultimately impact the approval of the loan. If your credit is really bad and needs repair, the loan will most likely be declined.
Okay. In those situations where I don't have an exceedingly high credit score, would it help? Would it help to, I guess, be upfront with you in that case about that? If there's some rational or some reasons, or if I've made mistakes in the past that I've learned from, is that something? And I'm forthright about that in the beginning. Is that something that can perhaps help me or maybe work in my favor if there's past mistakes, but you see over more recent time, from a credit history standpoint, you can see where my scores are getting stronger, or my credit history stronger.
Right. So it's always best to be upfront. And if you know your credit isn't the best, you want to communicate that to the lender. So that way it can be addressed in the write-up of your loan for the supporting documentation. Or if your credit is severely damaged, then the lender could offer you some credit repair programs or some things that you could do to help get your credit back on track before applying for the loan and getting a decline. So it's
Okay.
always best just to be upfront, because you don't want to go through the long, lengthy process
Mhm.
just to be told, the loan is going to be declined.
Great. We have a question in the chat here from Ken Davis, and he asked, what about your business credit score? How does that impact this decision, kind of the intersection between your personal or your business credit score?
Right. So we do look at both. I'm going to say we look at 50% weighting of your personal credit, and then 50%
Okay.
of your business score, unless you have a very strong, well-established business. So say, for example, you've been in business for 20 years or more, and the business is profitable, everything is going well, but you had some hiccups on the personal side. Maybe you just went through a divorce or whatever happened, something beyond your control, we will weigh in more strongly on the business credit score. But if you're a startup business, or a business has been in business for less than 5 years, we're looking strongly at the personal, and that may weigh a little bit more heavily than the business credit score.
Okay. Well, yeah, but thank you for the question in the chat, and thank you for letting us understand kind of the intersection and the interplay of the personal and business credit score. That's really important for us to know. Moving forward to the next question, please explain how you would or would not evaluate a loan request from a new versus a more mature business differently. Meaning, what are the similarities or the differences between I'm a newer business, less than a year, maybe less than 2 years, or I'm a more established business, maybe I've been banking someplace else, but I've been in business 8, 10, 12 years. How would you view that loan request differently?
Okay, so for a new business, 2 years or less, we're going to most likely require an SBA guarantee for a new business. And it's going to require additional documentation
Okay.
for a business that may have been operating for less than 3 years. For the most part, all all loan requests are evaluated the same using the same metrics and criteria, regardless of the length of the time that the company has been in business.
Okay.
But a company who's been in business for like 20 years, is well established, has been doing very well, strong personal credit score, strong business credit score. The documentation that we require would be less, and the approval process would be quicker. The whole underwriting process would be quicker.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Based on some recent experiences that you had, we have a couple of questions here. What are the top 3 to 5 reasons why a business loan is denied?
Okay. The top 3 to 5 reasons would be debt service coverage ratio.
Okay.
So at Fulton Bank, we are cash flow lenders. So if you show that you can't service your debt 1.25% of the time, then that could be a decline reason. Also, insufficient collateral, depending on what type of business you have
Okay.
and what type of loan it is that you're requesting. If you don't have enough collateral to support the loan, that's a frequent decline reason.
Okay.
Also, poor credit history. If your credit score is poor, you have a poor payment history for your creditors personally and on the business side, that's a huge decline reason.
Okay.
And then, believe it or not, at the top of the list are incomplete applications.
Interesting.
Like what I mentioned earlier, a lot of people submit part of the documentation and then never submit anything else. And it could be months and months later. So then we'll just send a decline letter stating that you didn't provide your financials within a timely manner, because we do have timeframes that we need to review loans. Then also poor payment history. This is for existing customers. So loans to existing customers. So we already have you as a customer and it's time for your loan to be renewed. One of the top reasons that I see that loan not being renewed is due to poor payment history and lack of quality financials.
Okay.
So, some clients are required as a covenant and as a condition of their loan to provide quarterly financial statements. If you just don't provide the quarterly financial statements, you don't provide annual financial statements, you don't provide anything that we ask for you to provide us, we're not going to renew your loan. A lot of times you'll receive a letter stating that we're requesting you to take your loan to another financial institution.
Wow. Okay. You'd mentioned up front insufficient collateral. Does that include, is that business collateral, or does that also include personal collateral? Meaning, if I'm coming in for a business loan, are you looking at what the business has from a collateral standpoint, or do you, as an owner of the business or one of the owners, principal owners of the business, would that include personal collateral? And if personal, what are some items that you usually mention or discuss with personal collateral?
Okay, so say for example, if you are a real estate broker and you're looking to purchase properties, you want to purchase some investment properties to increase your portfolio.
Right.
So we've done whenever you're utilizing hard property as collateral, we do an evaluation of the property that you want to put up as collateral, and the property doesn't appraise at the value that we need it to appraise at. Like we are typically for investment real estate professionals, we're at a 75% loan to value. And if you don't have that available, we will decline the loan for insufficient collateral. Okay, oftentimes too, depending on what type of loan it is, we may have someone that wants to put up investments as collateral, but as the stock market goes up and down, and then we don't take investments one-to-one, we take again about 75% of the value of your investment in portfolio. So if the portfolio is insufficient to cover the loan that you want to collateralize, then again, that would be declined due to insufficient collateral, depending on whatever the collateral is. If it doesn't appraise or the value isn't where it needs to be to support the loan, it'll be a decline based on insufficient collateral.
Okay, I got you. Okay. Thank you very much. That is really important. There's a couple questions in the chat. We'll get to that in just a second. I'm going to move to the next question here, which may start addressing a couple of these. If not, we'll definitely come back. Excuse me. What are the successful strategies you see newer companies utilize to secure a bank loan? You know, if I'm a couple years old, I don't have I can't come to you with 3 to 4 or 5 years of strong, profitable, cash flow statements or CPA statements. I'm just a couple of years out. What are some strategies you see newer companies utilize to secure a bank loan?
Yeah, that would be an SBA guarantee. So
Okay.
we are a preferred SBA lender here
Okay.
at Fulton Bank.
All right.
So we have one of our credit underwriters who works for Fulton Bank, but they work specifically on SBA loans. So we would need to obtain an SBA guarantee
Okay.
if, in order to secure the loan.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. And that's for newer companies. And
Right,
then
newer
if you have excellent credit with strong cash flow,
Mhm.
that is really, really a good way to
Okay.
be successful at securing a loan.
Can I ask you a
And
question there, Tiana?
Yes,
So with strong
yes.
cash flow, you mean that the business is a profitable business,
Yes,
and that after you have your revenue back, after you back out your business expenses, there's still a strong cash position for your business.
yes. And you can service the debt
Right.
1.25% of the time.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And also, would it be, and this is maybe where your CPA can help you, important for the business owner, particularly for a newer business, to separate the business financials from the personal financials?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Fantastic. Okay.
And that comes with a complete and professional financial package.
I keep hearing that theme quite a bit, a professional package.
Right, because sometimes, people, if you're a new or startup business, sometimes you're doing your own taxes, and we receive a lot of handwritten things that, sometimes aren't as accurate
Okay.
and maybe not legible, and, just a lot of times not accurate.
Okay.
So once you get to the point where you want to ask for a loan from a bank, it's always best to have a CPA prepare your financials for you, or some type of accountant, and then
Okay.
have a strong business plan as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you please describe factors that contributed to a recent approval of business loans? I mean, oftentimes you hear about loan denials, but we want to be positive. There are businesses and banks that are lending money to businesses. So if you could just think through some of the recent loans that you've made that have been approved, what were some of the factors that contributed to you guys saying yes and then wiring funds to the company?
Yes. So excellent credit,
Mhm.
strong cash flow,
Mhm.
excellent financials, experience in their field
Okay.
or business that they're in, and then the industry. There are some industries that banks view, that financial institutions view, that are strong industries. So for example, if you are a CPA and you are looking for to start up your own CPA firm, or you want to purchase another CPA firm, or you want to buy out one of your partners of the CPA firm, that's considered a strong loan. If you are a doctor and now you're a doctor who wants to buy her or his own medical practice, that's considered a strong type of loan, because we have special doctors loans specifically for doctors that has special pricing and benefits. So that would be considered a strong loan. A law firm, if you're an attorney, again, who wants to buy out your partner, you want to buy a law firm, you're experienced in your field, that's again a strong, that's like a strong agency or industry.
Okay.
And then a government contractor, because
Alright.
again, the government pays.
Right.
So you have a strong form of repayment. And if you are an experienced government contractor, you have a strong government contract. That again is the industry that I see gets a lot of approvals as well.
Okay.
And then again, a complete financial package
Okay.
that as well will help you with getting the loan approved.
Gotcha. Fantastic. Fantastic. Moving to the next question. Can you give us an overview of the bank's loan approval process? As the public, as a small business person or an entrepreneur, I apply for a loan to a bank. It seems like I give all this information. I talk to you or a loan officer at another bank, and then it
Mhm.
seems like things disappear in a black hole, and I get peppered with questions periodically.
Mhm.
It always takes longer than I want. Um,
Mhm.
so can you just give us a sense of pull back the curtain a little bit for us? Can you provide us an overview of the bank's loan approval process?
Yes. So first, you're going to meet with a commercial relationship manager like myself. And so you're going to tell us the story about your business, what you're trying to achieve, how much money you want to borrow, what do you want to use it for? Just tell us the whole story. So that way we, the commercial relationship manager, the commercial banker, can tell that story to the underwriter who's going to approve the loan. So first you have the meeting with the relationship manager.
Okay.
Then we obtain your financials. Now, this is the piece where clients and business owners think that it takes the longest amount of time because we've asked for a complete financial package, and then a lot of times business owners give it to us piece by piece by piece. And so we're not going to submit it. The bank, the commercial relationship manager, is not going to submit your package until we have everything. So the time, the ticker doesn't start ticking until we send that complete financial package to our credit analyst. So
Okay.
our credit analyst then does the spreads, but that's when the timer starts. If you haven't provided us with all the financials, then we have to keep coming back and asking for additional financial information. It's going to seem as though it's taking a long time because you haven't provided all the financials that were requested.
Gotcha.
So once all the financials are provided,
Mhm.
the the commercial relationship manager completes a write-up, then forwards that with all of the information that the client or business owner has provided. They send that to the credit analyst. The credit analyst completes spreads. Then the credit analyst forwards the spreads back to the commercial relationship manager to see, does this look right? Do you think that this is accurate based on the information that you've submitted? And if we feel as though it's accurate, then the final step is that we submit it to the underwriter. And so the
Okay.
underwriter will make the final lending decision as to whether or not the loan is going to be approved or denied.
So if I understand that correctly, from my perspective as a business owner, the clock starts when you get all the information you asked for. So if I
Yes.
give you 9 out of 10 things and I'm waiting for 2 weeks to give you the 10th thing, because maybe I don't know, my CPA is preparing a statement or I'm waiting on third party information, you have it, but the clock doesn't start to once you get everything.
Right. That's
Okay.
absolutely right. And that's where the disconnect is sometimes because, business owners are like, it's taking forever to get this loan completed. And, but you haven't provided all the information that was requested. So the time hasn't started.
Okay. Well, thank you for
Mhm.
sharing that. You mentioned the SBA a couple times here. Could you describe the similarities and differences between what we'll call a bank's traditional loan programs and the SBA loan programs? I just wanted everyone to understand that when you're talking to a bank, there's two different programs that they can have here potentially.
Okay, yes. So typically startup businesses or businesses that have not been in business for greater than 3 years, they will be referred. Fulton Bank is a preferred SBA lender. So it will be referred to our preferred SBA lender within the bank, and they will review the loan. And we would need to do that so that it can have an SBA guarantee. Also, loans that would not be approved going through the traditional banking channels, but they may be approved if they had an SBA guarantee backing it. Those are types of loans too that we will send over to the SBA. SBA loans require similar financial information as traditional bank loans, but require more detailed financial documents. The list of documents I shared with you all earlier, it's going to be significantly more in-depth with the SBA if it goes over to the SBA. And then, you know, interest rates for the SBA are variable, whereas traditional banking loans, the rates can be fixed or variable. It's just a lot of more information that will be required to go to the SBA, but it is a great option for startup businesses or businesses that have new businesses that have been in business for less than 3 years or less.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for explaining that. In the last question here before we get to, I think we have a couple in the chat. What options should a company pursue? They go to a bank, they get denied. You know, I'm upset. I can be angry, I can be upset, I can be disappointed. I can have a whole lot of emotions here. But what options do I have to pursue to really get the loan that I need to help me grow my business?
It can be the SBA again, because sometimes loans that will not make it through the underwriting process for traditional banking, the SBA underwriter can take a look at it to see if we will approve it with the SBA guarantee. So the SBA would be one way. The next one would be a CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution, because a lot of times they receive grant funding for businesses that are startup businesses, or businesses that just aren't there with their credit yet, businesses that are just under the mark from being able to go through traditional banking channels. So a CDFI is always good. And then a broker. You know, there are some loans that, you know, banks, it could be that it's the industry that the bank may not want to do a loan with right now. Like, for example, hotels. Fulton Bank, we do loans for hotels, but we're right now just doing loans for hotels that are our existing customers. If there's someone who comes to us and says that they want to purchase a hotel or to start a hotel, if they are not our existing customer, we will not do that loan. So we could refer them to a broker. And so that broker would go out to try to find another financial institution to do the loan for them, or, you know, at a higher rate. Work on providing a stronger credit package that will help you if you got the loan declined. Sometimes the loan is declined because there's inaccurate information, there are accounting errors made within the package, and so that could stop you from getting a loan, errors in your credit package. And I would say develop a relationship with the banker, because if you have a relationship with the banker, they know you, they know what you're trying to do, they've been working with you, they know what your goals are. That banker will be your advocate when submitting that loan for you, and that will also increase your chances of getting an approval.
Okay, well, thank you. Just to sum up a couple of points that I've picked up, I think 4 out of all the great information that you shared with us about access to capital and increase your odds of getting the loan that you need or want. One is a professional package. You worked with maybe your CPA accountant and others to help you put it together and make sure the information looks professional, but also that the information is accurate. A strong biography about the owner and the business, and take the time to brag on yourself a little bit, kind of tell your own story about your company. Third is submit a complete financial package. So if the bank asks you for 10 items, provide those 10 items, and provide it, sounds like all at one time, so they can really get started and start moving forward. And then the last one is take time to get to know your banker, meaning you should get to know one another. And when they get the application, they should have a general sense of what's going to be in it, and they should know when it's coming, when it's arriving, that they're
That's
happy to see it. Yes. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. We have a couple questions here in the chat, and please raise your hand or just submit more questions into the chat. And we will start with Andrea. Andrea, are you with us? If you are, you can come off of mute, please. You can ask the question, or I can ask it for you.
Hello, how are you?
Great, Andrea. How you doing today? Thank you for
I'm
joining
great.
us.
Oh, you're welcome. I just had a question. What should the credit score be? What are they looking for the credit score? What range?
That's really subjective from bank to bank. Typically here at Fulton Bank, we like it to be above 650.
Okay.
Now, we do have a program now in our diversity banking division. That's a new program that we just started, and that's for female-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, and veteran-owned businesses, and LGBTQ-owned businesses. We have lowered the FICO score to 620. So if your FICO scores at a 620 and you meet those criteria, and your loan amount is going to be $1 million or less, then it would be 620.
Okay, sounds great. I did have another question.
Yes, go right ahead.
I know someone that's trying to get an SBA loan, and he hasn't been in business, and he was offered to purchase the company that he's worked for now. But his credit history is not as strong, and he do have a criminal background. Would that stop him from applying for SBA loan?
Yes, unfortunately, if you have a criminal background that's recent, within the last 10 years, that could prohibit you from getting an SBA loan.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right.
And I was gonna, and Andrew, thank you for asking those questions. Depending on the situations and circumstances of the criminal record, if he can get that perhaps removed, expunged from his record. I know there's various groups and entities have programs to do that, and that would be something that he or she should take a look at as well.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Can I add to that, John?
Go right ahead, Ken.
Yeah, so, and it's not an automatic, but there is a state guarantee program. And sometimes when you can't use the 8A program because of some of the federal guidelines, you can use the Miss Bidford program with the state. And that is one of the great areas with that program. If it can make sense and you don't scare them, then not.
What is that program called again? I'm sorry.
Okay, bear with me. It's Miss Bidford. Let's see, Maryland Small Business Development Funding Authority.
Small business.
Yeah, Melissa, could you put that into the chat in a couple of minutes? If you look that up, put their website in the chat.
I thank you for that.
Now, and it's again, if someone robbed a Brinks yesterday, then all gloves are off.
That's not gonna happen.
But yeah, I would definitely look at the program Ken talked about, and there are various programs to get the record, get that removed from your record. That may depend on the length of time and the type of issue it was that related to criminal history.
Okay, I will do
But
that.
there are organizations that help you do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. That is those are great questions.
Thank you.
And also, I'd like to add, and maybe Tiana will throw this out there. We run across oftentimes that, we've made mistakes in the recent or not so recent past related to credit history. There's been a lot of turmoil in the economy, pandemic, et cetera, that can impact our credit score. What if we had another partner in our business that was maybe an equal owner, or maybe they owned even a little bit more in the business, maybe 50-50, maybe they own 60, we own 40. Maybe we don't per se want to do that, but if we had another co-owner or borrower that was real strong from a credit history financial standpoint, when you look them up, is that something that if I had a co-borrow, if I had a credit score that was below the range, let's say in the 500s or place, that would kind of be, really challenging? But what if I went out and had a business partner or someone else who was a co-owner of the business who maybe had a stronger credit score, stronger personal financial record, they were, at least a significant owner in the business? Could that help?
Yes, that absolutely can help. I just did a loan like that last year, and it was able to get approved because one of the other borrowers was very strong. So we
Okay.
were able to do the loan.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, fantastic. Okay. Good. So, you may have to get a partner in the short run if, looking at the SBA program. I'll give a plug for FSC First, which Ken mentioned, which is one of our sponsors, and I'm on the board as well. We are a community development financial institution based in Largo, Maryland. And so we also will provide business loans. So if some of your ratios are just outside of what Tiana was saying, that a traditional bank, you may not quite qualify. We're going to look at all the similar information, but given our mission and our purpose and our grant funding, we may, if some of your credit scores may be a little lower, or oftentimes our programs, you may not even look at credit scores. So if you look at fscfirst.com, that's another. We're based in Largo. That's another avenue for you as well. Kathleen.
I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. And that's just, this FSC First, Frank, FSC, Frank Sam Charles First, .com.
Okay.
Kathleen, Cheryl, are you still with us? You had a question? I was trying to read it as I was going by here.
Yes.
Yeah, go right ahead, Kathleen. Please ask your question.
Okay, it's a two-part question. The first
Go right
part
ahead.
is, how long does a business typically have to be in business and have a good credit score on its own, so to speak, because it's not ever defaulted on loans as a business or anything like that? How long does it take for the business credit to be separated from the owner? That's part one. And the reason for that is because if the owner is looking to, in some way, move on, how does that business retain the credit score and viability and everything without that owner?
Thank you, Kathleen, for the question. So the first part, I think we understood, is how long do I have to be in business for it just sounds like for the business credit score to be the more predominant or primary metric that outweighs my personal credit score?
Well, it depends. Like I can't say, okay, it has to be 5 years, 15 years, 10 years. But the longer, the better. So say, for example, you've been in business for 10 years, you're doing very well, you have strong cash flow, but there was a hiccup on the personal side. But if that business, and you've been in business for 10 years with strong cash flow, very profitable, then many banks will look at the business credit score, and that will outweigh the personal side. But there are still some banks that will say, okay, you're doing strong, you're a strong business, you're doing well, but your personal credit score is in the 500s. And so they may take that into account as well. That's just an example.
Okay.
So I was
it
going to say
depends.
both of mine are strong. That's not the point. I want to be able to pass on that good credit score or show that good credit score to the person coming in, and not have whatever monies that need to be borrowed be totally on me because I've been the person who's run the business for almost 20 years.
It would be basically on you, because you've been the person running the business for almost 20 years. And so the person who's coming in, what is their business background? Do they have a background in doing the same thing that your business is currently doing now? What is their credit history kind of sort of like? Were they in business for self prior to going into business with you?
No, they are with me now. They're working with me now.
And how long have they been working with you?
Almost 3 years.
Okay, so I would say over the once they get past the 3-year mark, you can start looking at their credit history more heavily. We'll
Okay.
start looking at that.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Kathleen. We have a couple other questions here. Patience, are you with us to ask your question? Patience, are you still with us? Okay, we can, okay, Kurt, I see you. We'll get you in just a second. She's talking about, how can you get a grant from paying your employees as a small business if you can't get a loan?
I'm sorry, I was on mute.
Okay, are you still with us?
Yes, but you just read my question, so that's good. That's fine. That's what I wanted to ask.
Okay, so getting a grant, again, that would be a special program. Like, you know, John just mentioned FSC First, that is the CDFI in Prince George's County. If they have any grant programs that would meet if your company qualifies for their grant programs, you could be eligible for it with not being eligible for a loan.
Right.
And we also have some CDFIs located in Baltimore as well, if you're in the Baltimore area, and that you could qualify for. So that's the purpose of a grant. A lot of people who seek grant funding, they can't get a loan, but they could qualify for a grant.
Okay, I'm in the Montgomery area.
I'm sorry?
I said I'm in the Montgomery area.
Montgomery
Okay.
County, okay. Yeah,
County.
yes, FSC First, we are active in Montgomery County. And in fact, they're one of the sponsors of the program today and of this series. And I'm putting our, if you see me typing here, I'm putting our website in there. And fscfirst.com is in the chat. So you can you can reach out to us as well. We have our programs, but we work with other agencies that provide grants as well.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Now, can I interject? Because John, your folks are going to get mad at you when they start calling up saying, I heard y'all give grants. So the programs have requirements. So if you meet certain milestones, then they're called forgivable loans. They don't have a grant program where they're just handing out money
Right.
For grants.
Thank you for the clarification. Yes. Okay. Tiffany, and then we'll get to Kurt. Tiffany, are you still with us?
I am, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Good afternoon. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I was calling because my business will be turning 3 in September.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. I've had one contract during the 3 years that I've been in business.
Okay.
I've been using the residual from that income in order to pay the bills of the business subsequently. Now it's been almost 2 years that money is steadily running out. I haven't been able to get a contract since. So as that money is no longer available, what are your suggestions that I can do to keep the business afloat while I'm still in the market for business? I do have a credit line that I was able to get from the bank that I'm currently with. That's approximately $25,000, but I don't want to go into any type of business debt. Would you suggest I use my personal funds to keep the business afloat during that interim period? Or any other suggestions that you might have would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Yeah, I just worked with someone like this, Tiffany, and hindsight is 2020. You probably don't want to hear it's best to get credit when you don't need it. So when you first kind of started up your business, I think you should have tried to obtain a line of credit. So you said you do have a line of credit for 25,000. Was that a personal line or is that a business line?
It is a business credit card through the business banking account.
Okay, it's a credit card. So I would have tried to obtain a line of credit because it's not good to utilize your personal assets to fund your business. It just it's not good, because when you go to now request a business loan, it's going to look like, okay, you don't have much cash flow personally, and then you don't have much cash flow coming in on the business. So it just it's very tough. It's very tough. And have you applied for any grant funding at all?
I have not yet, no.
What is the nature of your business?
I'm in government contracting.
Okay.
Or the IT government contracting. Maybe I should be a little bit more specific.
Okay, and is a female-owned business.
Yes.
And yep, so there are different programs that are available for female-owned businesses. So I think you should probably look into some of those. It's going to be very difficult to get a loan through the traditional banking channel. And I would not recommend that you continue to use your personal to fund your
I haven't
business.
started yet. I still have maybe another 10 or 15,000 left. But so I haven't started yet, but I'm seeing, I'm trying to see the forest for the trees. You know what I mean?
I would recommend that you don't do that. Yes.
Okay. I'll do my best. Okay.
Thank you, Tiffany. Kurt, you have your hand up for a question?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the presentations you are doing right now. But there's two questions I have. Ms. Lawson, what is the difference between going to your bank and say going to a hard lending bank or finance company that will support a government contracting company? I have spoken to a few who said that they can support us as long as we have a written document stating that we do have the contract. They have stated, I know that it will be a certain amount on that contract or a financial fee to that, but what is the difference, and do you recommend that, and what to watch out for if you're doing that? And then Mr. Hale, I have a question for you afterwards. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, how long has your company been in business?
I've been in business. I was in the trucking industry before recently, and then I got out of the trucking business. Now I'm into the government doing contracting, maintenance and so forth. So I'm new. I have not received a contract. I'm new to the game completely, but that's the reason why.
Right. Okay. So you would qualify as a startup. So the difference is that we really do not finance startup businesses. We will through our SBA with the SBA guarantee, but you would still need to have at least 2 years of financial statement. And so you don't have that because you're just starting.
Yeah, let me say I've had the business for approximately 3 years, but let me say I have not received any funding to it because I was investigating the process of it, but I've incorporated the business at least 4 years now.
But you only have financials for how many years?
My financial for 2 years, but that was in my trucking industry.
Okay, well, you could try to go through the SBA. You would try to go through the SBA, but it would not be through the traditional banking channels. Now, sometimes hard money is good because it allows you the access to capital that you need temporarily to get the your business where you need it to be, but you need to watch out for exorbitant fees and extremely, what we call usurious rates. Like, you don't want to pay any rate that's 20%. You don't want to do that. So you need to try to steer away. But if you need to pay a rate of 10%,
Well,
then
we
that-
got this rate as small as it is 5, and depending on what the amount was, it was at 2.5, 3.5, something to that effect. So you're saying it's high. So you're saying as high as 10% possibly.
Yeah,
There we go.
yeah, I wouldn't go any higher than that, because a lot of times certain hard money lenders, the fees are exorbitant for the loan, and then the interest rate is outrageous. So if you have a hard money lender that is giving you a fair, fee and a fair interest rate, I would say that it's fine.
Now, is that the same as me dealing with them, and what their thing is, I guess, is before we get paid, they get paid. So the check, I guess, is kind of in both our names, and it has to be deposited through them, and then we'll get the remaining. Is that normally how it occurs?
I don't particularly like that arrangement. And there are certain hard money lenders where it is like that, but you just need to do your research, and I don't like that arrangement though.
Okay.
Kurt, when you say hard money, are you referring to factoring, or because hard money is usually real estate? So when you
Well,
say
no,
hard
yeah,
money-
I am speaking of factoring companies, yes.
Okay. And so factoring is basically they're buying your receivables at a discounted cost.
Well, being a factoring company, well, just like when I was in the trucking world, whatever I made a trip, and my trip was for $2,000, they would take out 1.5% or something like that. And I would send, well, it was already an initial agreement, but I would say, hey, I'm going to do this load, blah, 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 is going through, and it would come to them initially first before it would come to me. Or, yeah, well, they would put in the receipt immediately, and it would go, they would put it in and submit it for me. But when it was received, they would get the check to them, but they would pay me up front.
I would suggest that you may want to consider that, because one typically goes to factoring when they don't have a banking relationship, and they don't have the 3 years financials, yada, yada, yada.
Exactly.
But if you find a program like with FSC or CFI or someone, and you get funding, you can get approved subject to having a viable contract, so that you may not have to go, unless it's a timing issue, you may not have to necessarily go that route of having to sell your receivable, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
Like FSC will, if you say you've been in business for 3 years, you're now getting ready to go after some contracts, you have letters of interest or intent, yada, 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 and you think these contracts come in, and when they come in, you're going to need funding. That's a different kind of conversation that, they may be willing to entertain.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Hale, one question is, you
Sure.
put yourself out there, you being a part of the Department of Energy. Where is it in Maryland? I'm in Baltimore, that I can get more information or insight on the ERC? Is there any birds out there singing concerning the rechargeable and the energy contracting world?
Can you repeat, Kurt, you kind of broke up. You said you're looking for some information regarding.
On the
Energy?
ERC, on the ERC chargeables, the electrical charging equipment.
Right.
Being that you're part of the, was a part of the Department of Energy, can anywhere that you can direct me into, because we have a contracting company that are looking to get into that phase in partnerships, and we're trying to see where we can direct to.
Gotcha. So from the Department of Energy standpoint, this is on the federal level. There's a state and local program, an office that deals with state and local programs. They could perhaps direct you to the activities in the state of Maryland, that would probably be the first place to start. What activities are here?
Okay, you said, what's the name of the company?
It's the U.S. Department of Energy. So if you go to energy.gov,
Uh-huh.
yeah, U.S. Department of Energy website, there's
Oh, yeah, I've been to that. Yes, I've been
there's
to
an Office of
yes.
State and Local Programs. They
Okay.
do outreach to local communities, so they can talk to you about how they're supporting Maryland, or if it's Baltimore specifically.
Okay,
The U.S. Department of Energy is involved there, and and perhaps who they're working with on the state level.
okay, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you. And I think Kevin, Davis, are you still with us? Kevin, are you with us? Oops. All right, he had a question. I'm hearing that banks are tightening up on loan approvals. Should we apply for loans with the SBA? Do you have thoughts on that?
Well, if the bank that you're working with has a preferred SBA lender, you would still be applying. It would be someone who works at the bank, and the bank would actually do the underwriting of the loan, but the loan will be guaranteed by the SBA. So I think that would be the way to go.
Sure. Right. So the SBA, for everyone on the call, except for the SBA disaster program, the SBA is not a direct lender, meaning that Fulton Bank can have an SBA program, so can PNC, so could a variety of other banks, M&T Bank, Main Street, et cetera, in the marketplace. So when you go to that bank, if you're interested in the SBA program, you need to specifically ask for bankers in the SBA loan program, because that's going to be a different office within the bank, but they're still going to do the underwriting that we've been talking about throughout the call. Gotcha. Okay. Do we have any other questions or comments here? I'm going through the chat. I think I've gotten to the bottom here. Okay. Any other questions or comments for Tiana? Anyone while we have her? Great. If there's any further questions, Tiana, you can put your information or your email in the chat. They can definitely reach out and find you at Fulton Bank here locally.
Yeah, my email is in the chat.
Okay, fantastic. And so, Ken, we want to throw it back to you, but we want to thank the Maryland Black Chamber of Commerce, and we want to thank our sponsors as well.
Yes, and then John, I want to thank you again and thank Don Moraney for putting this series on. Tiana, great information as usual. Look forward to working with you on some of the upcoming events. We always want to make sure that our Black business owners are armed with information. Even if you don't like the information, at least you're armed with information so that you can make educated decisions on something as important as access to capital. Please reach out to the chamber. We have lots of resources. If you have any questions, we'll be putting on more access to capital events in the future. Thank you for participating. And thank you to Melissa, who's our admin, who hosts all of our events, and she's always behind closed doors with making us look good. So thank you, Melissa.
Yes, she is.
You do.
Right, and we'd like to ask you too to keep us in mind and join us for June 6th. Same time, same Zoom link to buyer or seller, growth, organic, and acquisition. So we'd like to see you on June 6th, and we will be in person on June 20th. And we'll send that information out shortly as to where we'll be. But we wanted to end this up with some nice weather on June 20th so we can see each other and meet the speakers in person as well. Thank you, everybody, for being with us, and feel free to reach out and contact us if you have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Great job. Great job. Great
Thank you very
information,
much.
Tiana.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon.